Welcome everybody to this third session of our journey around the world looking at apitherapy. It's been an amazing experience so far, and it's fantastic that we've been able to bring together all these different apitherapy groups from around the world to talk to you. You're going to be hearing from 3 countries over the next hour or so. From the UK, and that's going to be me, and from India with Pushpendra, and hopefully if Chris Claronimus can join us, you're going to be hearing from the US too. So I hope you enjoy these talks. Don't forget, if you have questions, well, you get them into the chat area there, and they'll get answered as and when we can. But be assured that all your questions will find an answer. So please use the chat session. So I want to sort of I'm actually introducing myself now, and I've pre-recorded my talk, which I think the organizers will put on as soon as I finish speaking. So, but apitherapy in the UK is not a big topic, but I think it's growing. And I hope it interests you what I have to say about the way in which I'm trying to explore a slightly broader context for apitherapy. So over to the video. Hello, I'm James Fernley, and I'm from the United Kingdom. And I want to start by thanking the International Federation of Apitherapists for inviting me to speak about apitherapy in the UK. This is not a particularly easy thing for me because apitherapy in the UK is very small, and in no way has it been developed in the same way it has on the continent or in other parts of the world. However, my introduction to apitherapy has come through a 30-year study of propolis and the medicinal properties of propolis, which you'll all know about. So I'd like to take you on a very short journey through my exploration of apitherapy, through my paper, The Honeybee and the Human Heart. I want to get things in perspective first of all. Honeybees have been around for around 100 million years. Human beings have been around for between 5 and 7 million years. It's an enormous difference. Honeybees represent one of the most ancient forms. At a recent meeting of Earthwatch in the UK, the honeybee was declared the most invaluable species on the planet. And why? Because for all our major foods, it produces 90% of them. But bees are declining and have been for a number of years. And in 2013, in the US, 60% of all bees died. In a form that's come to be known as colony collapse disorder. Why has this happened? There are many, many reasons. But to me, the primary reason is staring you in the face. We've turned the honeybee into a one-dimensional commodity. We've exploited it for what it can give to human beings. And we've done this in so many different ways that has led to this disastrous consequence. But honeybees have not always been seen as a commodity. In India, the Hindu gods The priestesses were called Melissas, or bees, as a symbol of higher knowledge and being. And the priests were called Essene, or king bee. And of course, many will know the verse in the Quran, where there comes forth from their bellies a liquid of many hues in which there is healing for men. Therein is surely a sign for men who reflect. The honeybee has been revered as a god. But the honeybee has fallen from its status as god. It's being captured, it's being contained, it's being commercialized. And the honeybee has turned into a commodity rather than a companion. But it may be that the honeybee is far more of a companion than a commodity. Rudolf Steiner, in his 9 lectures on bees, had this to say about the honeybee. He said, whoever looks at a beehive should actually say, with an exalted mind, making this detour by way of the beehive, the entire cosmos can find its way into human beings and help to make them sound in mind and body. That's quite something, isn't it? This theme has been taken up by Horst Kornberger in his book, The Global Hive, where he talks about a compassionate ecology. He's talking about the way we look at nature and the way we look at bees. And the difference between the thoughts and feelings is that our thoughts keep us detached, while our feelings make us related. And he says the bee crisis shows how detachment can become destructive, and that a new approach is needed, one that is related as well as objective. It's a plea for a new kind of science, for a compassionate science. He goes on to say, it's hard to have an emotional relationship with a chemical formula. There's nothing sacred about a genome. When all regard is lost, nature becomes a commodity. The beehive becomes a factory, and the bee queen a genetic machine. The loss of function from honeybees, he says, is an issue that should be addressed not just in a scientific manner, but also acknowledges the way we perceive, feel, and act in response to these issues. As I said, my journey to apitherapy has been through a 30-year study of propolis. I'm sure most of the people listening to this talk will know what propolis is. It's the defender of the hive. Aristotle defined the term pro-polis, before the city, the defender of the city. He truly is a defender of the bee colony. And it's turned out to be a defender of the colony that is the human being. Over that 30 years, we've made a number of discoveries and explored many properties of propolis. Here are some of the key ones. That propolis is more antibiotic, what we call more antibiotic, in hot and wet climates. We found propolis in the South Sea Island that was highly effective against MRSA. And what's most interesting is that in an area in the Cameroon where there was sleeping sickness, we found inside the propolis an anti-trypanosome chemical. And so we began to imagine propolis as a unique geographic medicine, i.e., as a medicine for the bee, which is defined by its geographic origin, by its climate, and by the flora. I think I can best illustrate this by telling the story of the Baccharis dracuniculifolia. Now, Baccharis is a form of rosemary. It grows in Minas Gerais, which is an area which has been decimated by mining in northern Brazil. The plant has come to terms with its polluted environment and has resisted the temptation to become cancerous. The bees love this plant. They bite down into the resin buds of Baccharis, and they take that propolis back to the hive to protect their own hive against the local infections. Producers in Brazil have come to identify and use this propolis as an anti-cancer substance. We have gone on to sort of explore this relationship between the chemistry of propolis and its biological function. This is a work in progress, but largely speaking, what we have found is that in temperate zones, where the propolis is dominated by flavonoids, then that propolis has a stronger antioxidant property. Whereas in subtropical zones, the propolis is dominated by the phenolics, and there's a stronger antimicrobial activity. We tried to pursue this work by some research we did in Africa in a project we call the Bee Pharma Africa. We were looking at, following up the Cameroonian research, we were looking at 3 protozoal infections. In effect, though, what we discovered in Africa is that beekeeping and bee products itself has a 3-dimensional function in those countries. It supports the physical health and well-being of the practitioners. It supports their economic and environmental health. And it also supports their social and community health, working together with the bee and the presence of the bee itself. This led me 10 years ago to set up the Apitherapy Research Centre in North Yorkshire in the UK. The idea is to have a research centre which can both explore scientifically the medicinal properties of all bee products, but at the same time explore ways in which we can take care of the honeybee in a more sustainable way. If we're going to have these bee medicines for the future, then we're going to have to look after the honeybee in quite a different way. One of the major things that we've done is put on international conferences. First one was in 2016 in Glasgow. The second one was in Sofia in Bulgaria. And we were due to have the third one in 2020 in Istanbul, but of course the pandemic has intervened. Research into all the bee products from an apitherapeutic point of view has grown rapidly. Of course, it's not just propolis, it's honey, it's propolis, it's royal jelly, and bee venom. But of course, there are many other aspects of apitherapy which I can't talk about here. Recently, in connection with propolis, there have been some very interesting clinical work undertaken, which I think is worth mentioning in the context of the pandemic that we're facing. If you come to the International Propolis Research Group Conference on May 27th and 28th, you'll hear about some fascinating work undertaken by the Brazilians looking at the use of propolis in relation to COVID-19. Just published in Italy, some work undertaken looking at the role of propolis in treating upper respiratory tract infection. It's the same with metabolic syndrome, which involves many of the diseases related to COVID. And the Chinese delegation will be telling us about clinical trials using propolis in the treatment of diabetes. Health in general for human beings involves a balance. It's not just about
what you put in your mouth. It's not just about the physical medicine. It's about your social life, and it's about your economic life, and it's about your cultural and spiritual life. Our society, unfortunately, seems to be unhealthy in all three realms. You might say we have a kind of community collapse disorder. This is why, essentially, I have started what I call the B-arc. The B-arc, as its name suggests, and you can see, is about the nature of the future. But it's about the beehive as a social, economic, and cultural inspiration for human beings. So there are three elements that we're exploring in the bee-arc. One is the ways in which the honeybee can support, the way in which we can support the honeybee in its cultural and spiritual realm, and how we can support it in the social and community realm, and how we can support it too in the economic and environmental realm, and how we can learn from the honeybee to be supported ourselves by these same functions. So there are three practical physical elements to the bee-arc. One is an international discovery center. This will be a visitor center where people can come and find out about the social and the economic and the cultural and spiritual meaning of the honeybee. Secondly, is the International Research Center, where we'll be using the learning of the honeybee hive to try and understand how human beings can evolve and develop a more social existence, a more sustainable economic existence, and a more realistic and meaningful cultural and spiritual existence. And thirdly, there will be a model of a small-scale sustainable community where we'll be putting into practice some of these learning. This is a very outline picture of the three centers, and you can see there are three hexagon-shaped pavilions. So in the Discovery Center, we will take the visitor on a journey from the cultural into the social and into the economic realms of the honeybee. And in the Research Center, we have a 100-seater theater in the cultural realm, and classrooms and laboratories and workshops in the social and economic realms. For the community, the center is surrounded by land and workshops and dwellings, and we'll hope to use these as part of the development of our sustainable community. This is an outline of the building itself, which we're hoping to build in and open in 2025. As you'd expect, the building itself hopes to be a zero carbon design. So we're imitating the beehive in another respect by building in all the kind of ergonomics and energy related issues that the beehive so brilliantly incorporates. And we want the bee-arc to be an international model too. We think if we can get this combination right, this combination between the social, the economic, and the cultural exploration of the honeybee and of our own lives, then this is a model that can help man potentially in what I think many of us are facing as a difficult and uncertain future. So I want to end by repeating those words from Rudolf Steiner, because I think they bear repeating. He says, whoever looks at a beehive should actually say with an exalted mind, making this detour by way of the beehive, the entire cosmos can find its way into human beings and help to make them sound in mind and body. Thank you for listening.
Well, yes, thank you for listening. I'm sorry if the sound quality wasn't quite as good as it could have been there. I should have probably been as brave as Pushpendra to present my talk live, but anyway, Pushpendra is now going to talk about apitherapy in India, and he's been a regular contributor to the international scene, bringing knowledge and information about apitherapy in India to many settings where I've managed to bump into him around the world, and here we are again online. I've personal reason to be grateful for his advice. He gave me some advice about the use of bee bread for a certain condition, which I've used, and Pushpendra, it was very, very valuable. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure, James.
So, Pushpendra, it's over to you.
Okay, I'll share my screen, Stefan. Okay.
Okay, very good. Yes, and click on that button down for the full screen. Yes.
Can you, is it
yes.
okay?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. So greetings from India to all my friends. I'm very happy to see you, Stefan, James here. Ali, thanks for inviting me. And I'm Pushpendra Singh Bhandari. I am a member of the National Bee Board. I have been working with the wild bees and the Apis mellifera in India. And I've been doing some work with phytochemicals, with apiphytotherapy here. And I today will talk about apitherapy in India with an Ayurvedic perspective, because this is very important. Apitherapy has been an integral part of Ayurveda, because honey has been used in Ayurveda for such a long time. And I think that's the best context I could share today. So if we just go with the history, if you see, we have a goddess named after the honeybee called the Brahmari, and we have a yoga asan called the Brahmari asan, which is like the bee's breath. It is a very famous asan. So just a bit of history. I will just come back to history, that India was always claimed to be the cradle of humanity and the birthplace of the honeybee. And Ayurveda is one of the most natural ways of healthcare, and honey is inseparable there, because honey has been used as the yogavahi, the carrier of the Ayurvedic preparations, besides its own natural properties. It's used as a supreme essence of life for internal and external applications. In Sanskrit, the very old word is madhu, which means sweet, charming, and it is coming from pushparas. Pushparas is the essence of flowers. It's the nectar, basically. And makshika is the bee. So this is a bit of history about honey and Ayurveda, which is actually inseparable. And Hindus, we whenever we do a worship, we make a mixture of 5 things, which is known as the elixirs of immortality, called panchamrits. It is used on all our pujas, a worship thing, and honey is one of the things. And they said it's like an elixir of life, which could never be created in a laboratory or something. It is basically a life-giving thing. So honey is considered a very, very important thing in our Hindu texts. Same in Islam. The honey was always recommended for healing purposes and a nutritious and healthy food. So I will just give a brief about Ayurveda. This is it's just required. Why honey and Ayurveda, how they mix. Ayurveda is basically the life sciences. It's promoting longevity and is considered the mother of healing. We have basically 2 books, and there were 2 scholars, Charak and Sushrut. Charak was a doctor of internal medicine, let's say, in the past, and Sushrut was for surgery. And they used a lot of plants and herbs with honey as a base always. And Indian medicines are always developed on the lines of Charak, the sage. Sushrut was the surgical ones, and they used honey for wound healing here also. They were aware of the internal lungs, like lungs and brain, and they did surgery about 5,000 years back. I'll come to the honeybee species also that are there. This is very important, talking in context of India, because we are just not dealing with Apis mellifera. We are dealing with trigona, we are dealing with Apis dorsata. These are the wild bees. They're not domesticated. There's Apis cerana, which is half domesticated. We can rear it, but then there's no guarantee whether it'll stay or not. But then these are very good foragers, very good nectar collectors, and very good pollinators. And then there is the Apis florea, the small red bee, and again, very, very important contributors to Indian Ayurvedic history, because we imported Apis mellifera in 1960s in India. So our Ayurveda is totally based on the wild bees, honey. We used wax also in our, if we call it apitherapy under Ayurveda, in the rural areas, they used wax also for joint pains. They would apply these wax, just melt it a bit, make it soft, and apply it on the joints wherever the wild combs. Of course, they were the wild combs, and that would be very, very beneficial. They would add a bit of mustard oil there, again, mix it with wax, put it on the joints. Very good. So this is our ancient, if we call apitherapy, integrated with Ayurveda. So these bee species is very important, because we are dealing with bee products from different sources, different varieties, because honey from Apis dorsata, the lactobacilli here, would be different from the lactobacilli present in Apis mellifera. That's a study by London Karolinska University. They found a unique lactobacillus in the white bees, Apis dorsata labrosia, and I think it's being used and pursued for wound healing in the future. Well, the same thing I repeated, that these are the varieties we have in India. Okay, but see, 5,000 years ago also, they were very clear on bees and honey types as per Ayurveda. They classified that. And there were 4 species of bees that was identified according to the color, nesting, building, and honey characteristics. We had the small bee, and we have the small bee, Apis trigona, causing honey which produces heat and acidity. This was written that long ago. Apis florea, the small bee, is the honey from here is cooling in effect and considered good for cold and cough. This was all specified at that time. Medicinal flora honey for tuberculosis and asthma, good for eye diseases. They classified honey according to the bee types. The common yellow and black bees, Apis cerana, which is, again, I said, it's half domesticated. The honey was oily, and it was considered the best. Whenever I visit the rural areas, I'm a lot in the rural areas, I'm in the forest, people would always ask me for this sort of honey from these small bees, because it's in our system, The use of any sort of natural products, let's say for honey or something, is known. When I visit the countryside, I visit the people who are using it regularly. And that shows the faith of the people in these products because of our ancient sciences. And that makes me very happy. That makes me very happy that people have faith in these things. And I'm sure these things, this is what we are fighting at this time in our little troublesome time because of COVID, because of our belief in our ancient sciences. Then we have the humming big bee, Apis dorsata. And again, it's one of the biggest honeybees in the world. Apis dorsata labrosia, it is a little bigger type of dorsata found in the upper regions of Himalayas and Nepal. Okay, and honey is described like this again, a very old theory they had. It was a heavy, that is the new honey, laghu, that is the old honey, dry, ruksha, cold, shita. This is all described in the texts. Again, very important what the Ayurvedic practitioners, this is very important. They divide honeys into fresh and aged, and that they both have a different effect. Fresh honeys help to increase body mass, nourishes body, while old honey produces constipation, decreases body mass. Fresh honeys are good for constipation. According to the 2 books we have, Charak and Sushrut, the Charak, the medicinal book for the medicinal doctors here, they divided honey but according to 4 types of bees, the Makshika, the Brahmara, Shudra, Patika. Again, it is the color, if you can see it is small bee, it's all based on the type of bees. According to the Sushrut, the surgery one, we had 8 types. And again, they have given the medicinal part also here. What happens, with this honey, which produces heartburn, intoxicant. The first one, Brahmara honey, it's not easily digested. It's very sweet. Shudra honey is light, easy to digest. Makshika, Chaitra, they all have their own medicinal thing, and this was done long, long back. So according to Sushruta again, some actions of new and old bees honeys was very much opposite to each other. And new bees honey is nourishing and laxative, the same one which was repeated as per the last book. Therapeutical uses of honey as per Ayurveda. Now this is very important. Again, they classified the uses, the therapeutical uses of honey as per Ayurveda. The most important, Yoga, it's penetrating the deepest tissue in the body. And that's what is the basis of Ayurveda. It carries the medicines. It carries all the herbs, all the tinctures. Honey is a very good carrier. It is good for removing cholesterol, for digestion, for complexion of skin. Again, wound healing, of course. Vision, good for the heart. Body channel penetration, diabetic and urinary tract, and impotence. Again, this is again very important, which I would have liked to share, and I'm sharing it because this is what is happening in India, in the countryside, in cities, what people are doing for their own, and this is their own preparations. This is of course based on some age-old traditional therapy things, but people are using honey for all these things, and they're using it very, very regularly. For burns, cuts and wounds, eczema, allergies. You can see there is how they use it. It's also written. Stomach ulcers, dehydration, diarrhea, bedwetting, weakness, sleep disturbance, bad breath, teething pain. Now again, massaging gums gently with bees honey. When we talk about giving honey not to kids below 1 year, because of botulism. I come up with that, and I'm always answering to that. In India, especially in our Hindu rituals, when a kid is born, we give a drop of honey, as auspicious. It's a ceremony. The honey is given, and I guess the main thing is the dosage, and when we have the teething pains with the kids, even when I had my mother, she would massage the gums with bees honey, and this is below 1 year. So there's no botulism. Botulism we can get from we are playing in the mud, we are doing, that's a different topic. But we are using, for the kids, honey here also below 1 year. So throats, of course, cough and cold, With ginger, it is giving very, very good results now. Very good results in time of COVID. Honey and ginger is giving very, very good results. One very important subject that has been pursued now, I'm doing some work with a university of Ayush, that's an Ayurvedic university in the western state of Rajasthan, and diabetes is a very important subject. And the basis is that because the diabetic patients, they are not able to utilize the glucose because of the insulin imparity, and the fructose present gives energy, and relieves the weakness. So it's basically honey, and I believe we are using the jamun honey, which are high fructose content, 10 to 15 grams for these patients. And even Acacia, I believe, has that. And Stefan would probably tell us later about it. And we are using it 10 to 15 grams for these patients. And we are not seeing a spike in any sorts of their sugar levels or everything, but the energy part is very, very good there. There was another experimental study. We've started studies in the ministry, with the Ayurveda ministry, regarding honey now. Again, trying to club apitherapy under Ayurveda. That's the most important thing. We are doing a lot of work with honey and clinical trials now. We did a small experiment about, we gave some albino rats some honey, and diabetic albino rats, and as compared to a negative group for a month. We used forest multifloral honey, and the results were published in the World Ayurveda Congress in January. Basically, what we know is honey is a natural sweetener substance and is used in patients of diabetes and obesity, along with other anti-diabetic medicines. So this is against the popular belief of restricting sweet substance in this disease. So the study was planned to evaluate the effects of madhu, honey, on weight and glucose, blood glucose levels on healthy and diabetic albino vista rats. The honey was collected from the wild sources in the month of November, and this is what they did. They put it into two groups, effect of madhu on healthy albino vista rats. They were There were groups A and B. 6 rats received CMC 1% and 6 rats received honey 600 per kg per day oral for 1 month for evaluation of weight and glucose. And the experiment 2 was on level of alloxin-induced diabetic rats. We gave the same amount, and after a month, these were the results. The weight. Honey increased the weight of both healthy and alloxin-induced diabetic rats. Healthy rats' increased weights was statistically significant. In diabetic rats, it was not significant. Effect of honey on blood glucose levels on healthy and alloxin-induced diabetic rats shows there's no administration. After that administration of honey for 1 month, it had no significant increase in sugar levels. So that meant the sugar levels did not increase much. The trials are still going on, and the next one is, I can just tell, we'll have the results because of COVID, it was delayed. It is with honey, turmeric, and amla. That is the Indian gooseberry. That is the next what we are doing for diabetes. In times of COVID, India, we, through the board, through the Ayush ministries, we have propagated people to do honey gargles. Honey with ginger juice is doing very, very well, as I said again. And honey with sitopaladi. Sitopaladi is a mixture of cardamom. Mishri is unprocessed raw sugar. I'm not very sure what is known in English that because I don't seem to recollect any word there. It's got pipali, that's Pipalongum, and cinnamon. 50% is the mishri, the unprocessed raw sugar. Then we have the pipali, cardamom, and cinnamon in that constitution. And it is in equal parts. This is again giving very good results in times of COVID for throat soothing, and it's giving people a lot of relief after a week's time or so. So this is a good thing. And Stefan, I recently recovered from COVID. Even I had COVID, and I just it's been just 2-3 days. I'm out of quarantine, so I could not record, and I'm just doing it live. But then I will just share something, that I was totally asymptomatic and I was very healthy. I was eating well. There was no symptoms, but I was positive, and it was just a random test. But I think it was because I was vaccinated long back and very well. What is that vaccination? All from the wild bees and the mellifera, those stinging, those hive air, those aerosols and everything. I think I'm an example. I have been with the bees such a lot in the field work. I've done a lot of field work. And I could feel the strength. And I think I don't know how many beekeepers, if there's a study who've been affected with COVID and what is the thing. I would be very much interested to know this. But for me, it was totally asymptomatic. India now, that was the past, what I was talking about, what has been happening in the past, what is the ancient sciences. But now, since beekeeping is a big work, the board is promoting Apis mellifera first is for pollination, of course, then comes the byproducts with honey and the rest of the. So in India, basically, we don't have, besides honey, and we recently developed specifications for royal jelly for our market. Secondly, apiculture being not a part of veterinary sciences in India, it's an entomological science thing. So the studies are just starting, they're just starting with Apis mellifera. All the universities, lots of universities, Ayurvedic colleges have started studying about propolis, about pollen, but we need to formulate a policy. We are doing work on specifications of pollen now, propolis, bee venom, unless until they come in force, it would not be legal to sell it in the market. And secondly, we need the medical community, and especially that's why I'm saying that, of course, it has to be the Ayurvedic community. That's why there is a thing since 1 year to take this under the wings of Ayurveda, so that it just it gains some legality, and we can freely do after honey. We can start with pollen, propolis, because they're all plant-based. We can just put it there, at that, and we have very good infrastructure there, and we could start clinical trials in vivo, in vitro with that. So that is basically the stage we are here in India. We are just combining right now with honey, wax, with our ancient Ayurvedic protocols. We are using apitherapy is exactly this way in India at the moment. But for future, we've started with our work, with our studies, with the rest of the bee products. We're getting our protocols, we're getting our specifications, and hopefully soon we will inculcate this, as I said, in a science, in a branch where it would be conclusive and it would be useful to the people. That's what, for me, most important. Any sorts of studies, something the people have to benefit, and so that's it. And I would like to thank Dr. Strand and Dr. Sumit Nathani, that is National Institute of Ayurveda, for their valuable inputs. And again, thank you everybody. Ali, Stefan, James, it's always a pleasure to see you. And I hope to see you very soon, and all of you. And I just hope all of us stay safe wherever you are. And we are in India, we are facing a situation where, as I said again, we are believing in our ancient sciences, in our spices, in our holy basils, in our turmeric and everything, and honey. And things are getting better. It's not as bad as it seems. Things are getting better. 90% of people are getting better at their houses, thanks to our natural sciences. And of course, honey is there always. So thank you very much. Namaste. I can't. You muted, Stefan.
Yes.
Thank you.
You can stop your share screen, Pushpendra. Yes, above.
Well,
Yes.
it was very nice presentation, isn't it, Stefan, James? What
Yes.
do you think? It's really interesting. Indians, especially Pushpendra, after having recently Corona, actually, we all were worried about when we heard the situations in India. We were very sorry, and when we heard that you are also one of the sufferers, we worried. Actually, it is nice to see that you are recovered and you are back among us.
Thank you.
Actually, I was thinking maybe you will accompany, you will join to that Congress by a pre-recording. It might be easier for you, but it is kind of you that you are here alive. We are happy to have you here. And it is also, it is, well, Ayurveda and Indian culture and the use of honey in India is interesting. And it is also interesting that it is not only apitherapy, but also apiphytotherapy. So actually, we have sessions in the program on apiphytotherapy. There will be very good speakers on this subject, like Professor Badia Visi and Professor Erdem Yeşilada. They will talk about apiphytotherapy, but I felt like it is coming. Apiphytotherapy is coming with your presentation, that we felt the aroma. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
What do you think, James?
I think one of the most encouraging thing about that presentation, Pushpendra, is the reference back to the Ayurvedic traditions, and the fact that the if you like, the kind of the amazing foundation that was created through another way of thinking, which is now sort of coming out, so to speak, and is being verified by science. But I think one of the things that COVID has done is it's reminded many people of the value and importance of the traditional medicine. And I think if we can really build on the science, then I think we have the opportunity to build a new kind of medicine. Yeah, absolutely.
I totally agree. I think, I'll just say again, this COVID has taught us, it's sent us back to our roots, it's sent us back to our ancient knowledge, that we had so much knowledge, where did we lose it? Or we never, we have to just look into it. I'm telling you, 90% people, whatever the media says, 90% people are getting better at home, Ali. And it is just our, our basic things, our spices, our basils, our turmeric, our very simple things, our honey gargles, whatever, they're using. Honey and ginger is doing wonders. Honey and ginger is doing wonders, at this moment,
Yeah.
Multiflora honey. I always tell people raw honey, multiflora, just go for it, and it is doing great. So we are fighting back. It's not so. We are really fighting back. And believe all these years of complacency we crept in because of all sorts of easy medication we left. Now we are going back, and I'm sure there'll be a renaissance. There will be a renaissance. There'll surely be for future. We will be much prepared. And I'm sure we will give something to the world which is beneficial for all.
Yes, exactly. I think arrogance is our enemy, and when we realized how actually we are weak, for example, in that period that we realized that we don't have any good reason to be arrogant, we realized that we are not the kings, and we are not the king, and so I think that provokes us to go back to origin. So
Yes.
so that is something sad, but well, that is something maybe an important factor to wake us.
Absolutely, agree. Totally agree.
Yes. Excellent presentation. And Ali, if you allow me, and James too, because in this section was Dr. Chris Kleronomos, and he was not able to join. But I have prepared just 2 minutes a general overview on apitherapy in the United States from my previous experience, and just to cover this area from the diplomatic point of view.
Yeah, that will be nice to hear it. What do you think, James? Isn't it nice?
Brilliant. Well done.
Yes.
Have fun.
Yes. So United States, let's say the first person who started with the idea of apitherapy was Charles Mraz. And before it was presented by Janos Körmendi-Ratz, Charles Mraz in the United States, who was the student and the patient of Dr. Bodok Beck. And he published also books on apitherapy. And now in the United States, there is a practical course called Charles Mraz Intensive Apitherapy course. And the first president of the United States Apitherapy Society, it was in fact the name Apitherapy Society, was Dr. Christopher Kim, who is also Korean. So he was for a couple of years. Then it was Dr. Brad Wicks from Washington State. He stayed several times and several years, and he got a lot of doctors in the association. Then it was since 1993, Dr. Theodore Cherbuliez, who was a psychiatrist and the former president of the Apimondial Commission of Apitherapy. And in the last years, Mrs. Frederick Keller, she is an excellent acupuncturist too. She lives near New York in Long Island. And now in the last about 2 years is Dr. Chris Kleronomos, who unfortunately wasn't able to join us. But the key point here is for all of you who'd like to learn more on Apitherapy United States, just go to their website, apitherapy.org, and then you'll see there they have a very nice journal. At the beginning, the journal was mainly on bee venom therapy, but now it's spread all bee products. So if the journal or the website, just www.apitherapy.org. So this was my short mentioning to save Chris from not being here. Okay.
Perfect.
Well, thanks, Stefan. Yeah.
Yes.
I'd just like to say something about the kind of what I imagine is the evolving status of apitherapy, and it does relate to what we've just been talking about in terms of that reference back to the past, to a sense of knowledge about how these products worked. And I think when we talk about when Pushpendra talked about if you like, the spiritual significance of the honeybee and the relationship of the honeybee to human beings, it was clearly, it wasn't as a medicine vis-a-vis a product. It was about a relationship with nature, really, with something whole. And I think in a sense the re-emergence of apitherapy, I think, and the re-emergence of traditional understanding is the re-emergence of the understanding and meaning of what our immune defense mechanisms really are. And I think my BART project is really, I think, now trying to focus on the fact that what strengthens our immune system is not just immune modulators in a physical form, but it's healthy social interaction, it's healthy cultural and spiritual meaning. It's a much more composite thing. So I think we have a challenge here because medicine, I think everybody realizes, has to evolve, and I think it has to reconnect again with these other elements. And I think the past is teaching us what these other elements are, but I don't think the answer is in pure physical science. I think it is an understanding the relationship of these products and the honeybee to a much wider context, to the social and the cultural context. So I think we've got a real challenge, and I hope apitherapy, in a sense, can capture some of that challenge and be able to lead it in a way.
Yes, and good points, James. And I would say a few things about what presented Pushpendra. It's Ayurveda and apitherapy. We must put it also according to the scientific thinking, also to connect with the scientific thinking. And what we need to do is we have those types of honey from different types of bees. Pushpendra presented very nice, like small bee, medium bee, and so on. But we need to convince the biochemists and the pharmacists by studying what are the active components, active compounds, active substances in those honeys. Because the honey, let's say Apis dorsata, it can go to many different flowers, and different flowers have different pharmacologically active substances. So there are different effects. Yeah, stingless bees like Trigona, like the other ones, they have this acidity indeed, like you said. But we need more studies to be done under your coordination in India, Pushpendra, about the pharmacology of these components.
Stefan, I will just say we are just late by a year, because as I said, I'm doing this work with this institute in Jaipur, with the Ayurvedic doctors there, the Dravya people. And what I would do is I would get from one species in one particular area, complete round the year, different honeys from different flora, different with all, classified flora. One from dorsata, one from sirena, one from florea. And then we would divide it into starting from ulcers to weight loss to diabetes. We would have this in vivo, in vitro, these clinical trials. This is there. We've already formulated that, but just because of COVID, we got a year late, So we are ready with it, as you said, and absolutely, you are totally correct. We need to do this and evaluate not just from one. I would do it from all over North India with my access to different areas where I see, and I would try to get honeys from different times, different flora from one species, and same way for 3 species, and then do our trials,
Yes.
So you are absolutely correct,
Okay.
Pushpendra, you said you were vaccinated already before the corona. But I think you are vaccinating us also with your presentation. I thank you for this vaccination. Well, I have a proposal to you and to James and to Stefan, and actually to other participants who can listen this session. They can write their opinions about my proposal. That that we are having a scientific congress, Apitherapy World Congress, and we wanted today to have such sessions that from different parts of the world, from UK to India, from China to Slovenia, from Romania to Hungary, from Ecuador to Turkey, different countries, they can come and share their experiences in their country. And now I start thinking that maybe in our next Congress, should we also approach more holistically and make maybe a session on the spiritual side as well? I mean, people can come and share their experiences about apitherapy and spirituality from different countries, because I think apitherapy and let's say bees are the common denominators, right? Denominators
Yes.
in humanity, that in different cultures, in different traditions, in different traditional medical practices, honey is well respected, honeybees are well respected, so we can come together and join in that common factor among all of us. So we can extend this to a spiritual side, and maybe we can have a session in our next Congress on that subject about how apitherapy and spirituality
Yes.
we can share.
Sorry.
What do you think?
Okay. Excellent ideas, and most probably we'll discuss them also at the end in the round table with the proposals and so on. But I would like to remind shortly to Ali, we need to go to the next section, and Janos is waiting, and we'll have the presentation from Iran, from Morocco, and Ukraine.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you, James. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you, everybody.
Pleasure always. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.